Good morning. My name is Sunny, and I'm one of the master trainer in EduBridge. Welcome to EduBridge. So today, what we're going to learn here is we are going to learn about barriers of communication. So why do we have to keep in mind that there are no barriers when we are communicating with one another? So this is the topic that I've picked up for today, and I hope you will enjoy the topic. Okay. So let's get started. So we will be talking about barriers of communication today, wherein I have a few points jotted down on my whiteboard. So the first point talked about lack of acknowledgement. Then we'll be talking about volume of voice. Then we'll be talking about different views, boring messages, unwillingness to listen, and we will be talking about emotional state, lack of interest, and we'll be talking about speed dialogue. And we'll also be talking about difference in religion. So now we will be talking about the first point is difference of religion, guys. As we all know that it's very difficult to communicate with people from different caste and different region. Why? Because they have a different mother tongue and we have different mother tongue. Wherein some of them might be good at communicating in English or any other language. What if I don't know their regional language? So what happens? There will be a barrier of communication. So what is a barrier of communication? That is something that we'll understand today. So barriers can be anything. Barriers can be lack of listening. Barriers can be noise pollution. Barriers can be lack of interest. You are not interested in that particular topic. So now how to overcome? And we need to understand what are the barriers and how to overcome them. So that is something that we're going to talk about today. I hope you guys are ready. Okay. So the first is our religional aspect. As I've said, we are all from different community. We are all from different community wherein we do speak different languages. We speak different language at home. We speak different language with our friends. We speak in different language with native people. So what happens here? Let's suppose I don't have the knowledge about the language. What happens? I will be facing challenges understanding one another. So that is known as barrier of communication, wherein the speaker and the receiver. So we have sender and receiver. Sender happens to be me and receiver happens to be you guys. For example, if I'm using my mother tongue and you guys are not aware of my mother tongue, will you be able to understand anything? Not a chance, right? Yeah. So you'll not be able to understand. The reason why? We're using a different language and that acts as a communication barrier. Okay. Now talking about voice, tone of voice in communication case. Really important when you speak. Why we are talking about this? You might have heard motivational speakers. When they speak with enthusiasm. They speak with energy. And they make sure they connect really well with the audience that they are talking to. Similarly, when we speak, we have to maintain the same energy level during our speech. I cannot sound dull. I cannot sound boring. It will reflect on my tone. For example, if I say, my day was good, or if I say, my day was good. So now, this is the tone of voice which is really important when you speak. So we have to make sure that our tone of voice is in moderate. For example, the rate of speech we call it. We call it speech rate. So now talking in high rate of speech, let's suppose if I want to speak and I'm speaking too fast. So few of you might not be able to understand me. And if I speak too slow, I might sound boring. Yeah? So nobody wants to listen to boring speeches. Am I right? Yeah. So now, that is the reason why we have to make sure that we have a moderate rate of speech, wherein the listener, be it from any category, be it a teenager, be it a child, be it an elderly person, they should be able to understand what I am saying. So that is known as your speech rate. Yeah? So that is known as your speech rate. And we will also be talking about the most important topic, which is different views, guys. So talking about different view. Everyone has different point of view. We look at the world from our aspects. We have different mindset when we look at the world or we look at anything. For example, if I talk about this pen, this marker. So I might have a different point of view. You might have a different point of view. So if we have difference in opinion, we might not be interested in that topic and that will become a communication barrier. So always remember, when you're talking about something, it has to be of the same interest. Okay? Now, also talking about boring messages, guys. So what we want to do is, we don't want to repeat ourselves again and again during a speech. So what happens? If I'll repeat the same joke again and again, will you like it? No, right? Not at all. Similarly, people, they don't enjoy the speech that you repeat again and again. So if you want to repeat, you have to rephrase it. So that message will not be boring anymore. Okay? Now, one more point is really important when we talk about barriers of communication, is the willingness, guys. How many of you are willing to listen to me? How many of you you're showing the interest and you're interested in what I'm saying? Then only you will be able to listen and you will be able to communicate effectively, and that's how we'll be able to overcome the barriers of communication. Or else, if you're not willing to listen to me, that will act as a barrier of communication. So you will not listen, you will not understand. Okay? Having said that, we have emotional states, guys. When someone is emotionally touched, for example, he has so many things going in his head, and I happen to talk to him, he might not be able to focus on me. He might not be able to listen to me. Why? Because he's thinking about something extra, something important to him. That's the reason why he'll not be focusing on me while I'm talking. So that is known as emotional state, guys. So we have to be wise enough to check the emotional state of the receiver, whether he is mentally and physically present and he's focused on you. Or else that will act as a communication barrier. Yeah? So now we have one more point which is really interesting, which is known as your lack of acknowledge, guys. Which is also known as the lack of acknowledge. So we are good listeners. How can we be a good communicator? We are all listening to one another. Yes, we are all listening to one another. We are a very good listener. But what if I don't acknowledge? Now, what is acknowledgement? This might be the question that you might have as of now. Acknowledgement is the response that you're giving. So it can be a verbal nod, or it can be an actual acknowledgement. If someone asks you a question, let's suppose I ask you a question, hi, what's your name? And you respond to me after 30 seconds, so that acknowledgement will not be valid, guys. So please do make sure, and please keep this in mind, that whenever someone is talking to you, if you are an active listener, or if you are a very good listener, so we have to make sure you are a good communicator also. So how are we going to do that? By acknowledging at the right moment, at the right time. So always do make sure you do not delay in response. If you delay in response, what happens? There will be a barrier of communication. The interest of the speaker or the receiver that you're talking to, he will start losing the interest. So once he starts losing the interest, he will not be indulged in the conversation, guys. So you have to make sure, if you are a listener, you do acknowledge at the right time. Or if you are the speaker, you should have people who will acknowledge at the right time. Or else, you will be the one who will be losing the interest, and they will be the one who will be losing the interest if the acknowledgement is not done at the right time. It's really important for us to know this. So be it any language that you're using, it's very important to acknowledge at the right time. Okay? Now we'll be talking about one more point which is really, really important, which has your lack of interest as well as your facial expressions, if I talk about. So if you're talking to someone, if you're talking to someone face to face and he's not paying a lot of interest in you, so you will be able to understand by his facial expressions, guys. So now if someone is not interested, he will not maintain eye contact with you, first of all, or she might not maintain eye contact with you. She might avoid eye contact and she might be touching the phone, she might be checking her clothes, she might be checking her watch. So if someone is not interested talking to you or listening to you, the obvious signs are they will be looking at the watch, they will be touching their phones, they will be looking right and left instead of maintaining eye contact. So that shows that the person is not interested, and that acts as a communication barrier. So before we talk to anyone, before we initiate a conversation with anyone, so we have to make sure that we have their interest. Or else there will be a communication barrier between us. So how to overcome that? Before we start any topic, check the understanding of everyone. check the understanding of everyone, grab their attention, and then you start. This way, you will be able to engage effectively, communicate effectively with one another. So that was it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. And once again, Sunny from Edinburgh, thank you so much.